and I think we should be good.
It's official now. The executive producer here, he knows all about the marker clap, don't you?
I've done
Well,
a few.
Yeah.
you've done a few of them. You've done a few of them. Well, like I mentioned in the intro, we have a super special guest with us today, Mr. David Blanton from Realtree. Sir, it's quite the honor to talk to you now. I mean, I know we ran into each other there a little while ago at the store, but it's really an honor to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you guys this morning. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we've kind of made our rounds with the Realtree crew. I mean, we're getting there. We've had Waddell and then T-Bone and now you. We saved the what's that, the third one for the best, or third time's the best, or whatever that saying is.
Well,
but
no, I'd say you probably have already had the best.
Yeah.
Now we're just scraping up the leftovers.
scraping up the leftovers. No, but you guys been able to put us in contact with a lot of people, and I truly appreciate it. I know Cole, shout out to him as well. He's been really helpful in trying to build those connections for me, and I look forward to some of the guests that we have on coming here in the future. I gotta say Rusty Creasy, Dr. Ducks. A lot of those guys were, Lee and the guys from Sequel One. We're looking forward to getting some of those guys on. So I'm super fortunate to have this relationship for him. So shout out Cole, man, if you're listening, we really appreciate it. And, I just continue to look forward to it. So before we get into the conversation, I did want to congratulate you. I know we mentioned before we recorded, you got a new grandson there. I'm sure you guys are just tickled to have him. And so, as a father myself, congratulations on that. I'm sure his grandkids are spoiled.
Whit Blanton was born to my middle son, Alex, about 5 days ago. And it's my fourth grandchild. I have two granddaughters now and two grandsons. So it's just wonderful.
Grandpa is probably the best title you have, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. But like I mentioned, you came into the store. Were you guys up here just for like a retail tour, or what were you?
We were calling on large retailers in y'all's part of the world, and obviously y'all stand alone. I mean, y'all have an amazing store, and everyone at Realtree, we appreciate the support that y'all show us every year as well. But we just want to come by and say hello to you guys and just tell you how much we appreciate the business.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was complete chance that I was even in there. So our location is actually separate from that store where we are right now, and we're about 5 or 10 minutes south of the store. And I always happen just to be in there to take pictures of boats that we sell. So we sell pontoons and things, and I always got to walk by and see my archery and my hunting guys. And then this guy turns around and I'm like, I know him. What are you doing here?
Yeah, he comes back and he's like, I just met David Blanton. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's fabulous. So,
And I will say, too, we had a little discussion there. We got, I'm a football guy. I know you're a sports guy, too. By the time that this airs, Ohio State's already gotten their first victory. I'm going to knock on wood. Go Bucks, baby.
We don't watch football in the South.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because all you guys are doing is hunting them little tiny deer. You got to come up to the Midwest and hunt these great big ones, right?
That's right. No, we're huge football fans, and we're pretty proud of our Georgia Bulldogs. Obviously, boy, y'all had us on the ropes there in the semifinals. I can tell you that.
Yeah, sure did. I
still don't even know how we came back and won that game, to be honest with you.
I'm still thinking about it myself here. And, we have quite a bit of relationship with some of the guys on Ohio State, just from our proximity to the campus and some of them being involved in the outdoors and being on our team. And we've helped out quite a bit. But I'll tell you, man, that it was still targeting.
So, question, when y'all lined up for the field goal there at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Did you, in all sincerity, feel like he was going to make it or miss it?
Noah. All right, so I know Ben probably doesn't know too much of it. He doesn't dive into it.
I don't really watch football.
I'm the guy that watches football in the tree stand, okay, on silent.
Me too. Me too.
But he was so consistent all year long that because he came from North Carolina. Noah did. Ruggles, I believe, is his name, and you figured it was going to be close. You obviously, cross your fingers. I think we could have probably gotten the ball a little bit closer than what we did, but hindsight's 20/20 on that. But no, I didn't. I kind of thought it was going to be tight, but I figured he would at least make it. It was like 40 yards or something like that. No, I certainly couldn't kick that far. So,
Yeah.
But no, I didn't believe it was going to be that bad. That was pure just pressure. I mean, as soon as it left its foot, he was done. So
For sure.
But no,
sure.
that would have been sweet beating those Georgia Bulldogs right there in Atlanta, man. I couldn't have thought of anything better for sure. So
Well, they beat Michigan.
Yeah.
We don't. Let's just not talk about
Yeah,
that
we
one.
don't.
Okay. No, I'm 35. I lived through the 90s, where we never beat them at all ever, and so I think a lot of people have been spoiled here in the last 20 years to have the record that we have. But yeah, I know those guys. We. Like I said, we have some relationships with some current and former players, and I know for a fact those guys don't want anything more than to beat that team up north for sure. So, yeah, we're getting there. The best part is it's September. We're talking about football. We're talking about whitetail hunting. People are out right now hunting antelope in Wyoming and other states and Nevada and stuff. We're officially in the hunting season right now.
Getting all of our prep work done.
All of our prep work. Early geese starts here in Ohio. And by the time this is recorded, by the time this airs, it's already started. Early geese and teal and dove season, and so we're in it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're ready too. We leave August the 29th. I leave for Wyoming to Black Hills to hunt with 7J Outfitters. I believe it'll be 28th year of hunting whitetails with them out there.
Nice.
I love it.
We've watched their children have children, and so they're like family to us. And going back there is always just a treat to go and see them and Jeff and Deb Smith and their family and the guides, and so we're real excited about that.
Now, I remember this was been several years ago. You had a lot less gray hair when this one came out, but obviously I grew up watching the videos, Monster Bucks and all the others between you and Waddy and all those guys. There was a video. There was a nice, I want to say it was an 8 or 10 point. You may recall. He was jumping a fence, and it was in an environment similar to what you would find in Wyoming. Jumping a barbed wire fence. I think you had a rifle, and you had writing on your hat. You remember that? You recall that? There was like. Oh goodness, I think it would have been season 8 or something like that. There was some like signatures or something on the bill of your hat. I just watched it again this morning before we had you on.
Oh, yes, it was a muzzleloader, I believe.
Yeah, and you were sitting in a ladder stand, and nice deer, nice.
Yeah.
You couldn't have asked for a better.
We've had some fabulous hunts out there. So obviously it's an early season archery hunt. Mm-hmm. This mostly what we do out there is, and hunting whitetails across the country, that early season is oftentimes, not all the time, and probably not as much as it used to be, it can be overlooked as one of the best times to kill a big mature whitetail.
Oh, for sure.
But you got to play your cards right that early season. When you're scouting, you can't move in close and you can't bump them, and you need to do your scouting from afar through spotting scopes or binoculars, and because they're on that late summer feeding pattern, those bachelor groups of bucks. And if you can keep the area from becoming contaminated, whether you're scouting or going in to hang a set, keeping the wind in your favor, it can be really, really good early for about a week.
Yeah, I would agree. For sure. Actually, Noah Barnett, one of the gentlemen that used to be on our pro staff team. We had some restructuring stuff there, but he shot, I think he was like 170, I want to say 175, 178, somewhere in there. But opening day.
Yeah.
I mean, his target buck the very first night. And so you can definitely, that's a rare occasion, but you can definitely make it happen for sure.
Yep. Well, I drew Iowa archery tag this fall. And of course, it takes about 5 years to draw archery as a non-resident. So I drew for this fall, and the people I'm going to go hunt with, I met through some friends of mine in South Georgia, is a small cattle rancher that they don't take a lot of hunters, but they've never hunted that early October. And so when I was talking to him, I asked him, I said, would it be possible for me to come out and hunt the first several days of October? And he says, well, let me think about it, because we're still pretty busy with our farming and ranching and haying and all that stuff. I said, well, just think about it. He calls me back and says, you know what? That'll be fine, but you may have to kind of be on your own, but you're more than welcome to come hunt then. So I'm really excited about hunting Iowa October 1st.
Oh yeah.
If, and this is a big if we don't have warmer than normal temperatures. That's the one thing that I'm keeping my eye on. If the temperatures are normal or even better, slightly below average, it can be fabulous hunting, as you know. But so I'm really excited about hunting Iowa early.
Oh, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for sure. That would be a ticket. That would be the ticket for sure. But we kind of segued there a little bit. Before we get too far, David Blanton, the man probably doesn't need too much introduction. But for those of the listeners that are out there that may not know Realtree and the brand and yourself, let's go ahead and introduce yourself. Well, take me back all the way. I believe you were born in Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what I heard.
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay. So I must have misread that. But go ahead and let's take us back to the earlier years, and then into what you got going on today, and obviously the last couple of decades with Realtree.
Well, so I was born in South Carolina, and I did not grow up hunting because nobody hunted where I was born, and nobody in my family hunted because we simply were a sports family. We played basketball, baseball, football. When my dad got transferred to South Georgia when I was 14, of course, we moved down to an area where hunting is a way of life.
Oh,
everybody. Sure. Our exposure to hunting, that was where we got bitten by the hunting bug. And my dad, my brother, and I, we just all started bow hunting with our new friends down there. And so that was my introduction to hunting. So I didn't grow up hunting, but it was kind of cool to learn how to bow hunt with my dad and my brother. We're all kind of learning together.
Yeah, for sure.
It was really, really cool. And all we did was bow hunt there in the early years. And shoot, I think I bow hunted 6 years before I finally shot a deer. I had missed a few.
Yeah.
So it just growing up and learning that way made it really special when things started clicking, and you started trying to figure it out a little bit. And it just made it even that more special for all of us.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I mean, Ben and I are kind of in the same boat too, where we both, I was very heavily involved. I grew up in the city. Baseball, basketball, football were my main things, got into cars for a little bit in my 20s. And it probably wasn't until 2016, I really took hunting seriously, and learning it yourself and trying to build those relationships with people out there. You know how it is with whitetailers, man. They get on the spot. There's only a very few people that want to teach and show and bring you along. A lot of guys want to keep things secret and want to keep, especially around here, they want to keep things secret. They want to kind of put a hold on who hunts and how they hunt and that stuff here in Ohio. And so it took a while of public land and trying to figure out being creative and trying to find different places to hunt. And I think we're finally kind of catching our stride now. I'm in my mid 30s and with 2 kids, so I can only do so much, but catching our stride in terms of what to look for, not just going picking a tree that looks good and sitting there, but finding a reason to be there. So it is fun to learn at an older age because I feel like you appreciate it a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
definitely.
Excuse me. So you were hunting. What age was this when you were starting to learn and you guys moved to Georgia?
14.
14. Okay, so
14.
you're in your teenage years. Did you go off to college or anything like that? How did you get into being like the executive producer on the video side and all that for Realtree?
No, so I played basketball in college for 2 years, and then after that I transferred to the University of Georgia, and go Bulldogs, by the way, to finish my degree. Well, while I was in school up there, I interviewed for a job at a nearby hunting plantation. They needed seasonal help during the fall.
Okay.
And I got the job, and I was just, I did whatever I needed done, from cleaning out the dog kennels, because it was a big quail operation, a deer hunting operation, a dove operation, from cleaning out the kennels to plowing food plots to cutting the grass around the lodge, whatever it took. That's what I did, and I loved it.
My bet.
Well, I went back to school during the off season, when I came back the following year, I was offered I got a promotion down there at the plantation as the manager of the lodge. And so when I graduated from Georgia, I was offered a full-time job there, and I worked there for a couple of years and got married. And after a few years, my wife and I, now my ex-wife now, but we moved to LaGrange, Georgia, where I still live today, where my dad had gotten transferred up here from South Georgia, where I grew up and learned how to hunt. And I opened up a hunting fishing store here in LaGrange, very small. My partner was the fishing end of the business. I was the hunting end of the business.
Okay.
It was just a very small, basic hunting and fishing retail store.
Yeah.
And it was right then when Bill Jordan was coming out with Realtree in 86, 87. And I had a salesman come in my store one day, and because Realtree, the offices are only 50 miles from here. So I started selling Realtree in my store, and a mutual friend of mine introduced me to Bill one afternoon out scouting for deer on his lease in the county below here. And that's how I met Bill, and we just kind of hit it off. And so for about another year, I had the store, but then Bill, this would have been in 1990, Bill was trying to get Realtree off the ground. He realized that if Realtree was going to be a success, Realtree needed a hunting show. And there's really were only two places that you could air a hunting show back then, a national show. It was WGN out of Chicago and TNN out of Nashville. And so we knew Jackie Bushman. We were sponsoring this show then, and we still sponsor it today. Jackie was on TNN with Buckmasters.
Yep.
So Bill came to me one day, and we were visiting. He said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming to work for Realtree? See if we can get a show on television." And of course, I didn't realize how involved the hand of God was on my life at that time.
I believe it.
Because without a doubt, I said, "Sure, Bill, I'd love to." So I left the store that I was part owner of, had invested 3 or 4 years in, and went to work for Bill. It was totally a leap of faith, and it was God's plan for my life, looking back on it now. And so I went to work for Bill. I had zero TV or camera or editing experience. Like, we had a little local outdoor show for our store, but aired on the local cable channel. But we had no experience with really good cameras or editing or anything like that. And so I went to work for Bill, and it took us a few years to finally get the green light to go on TNN. But what we did do is we started filming hunts, and we came out with our first deer hunting video, VHS. It was called Whitetails in the Wild. And we took those to retail, and I was a cameraman, and I would film Bill, and then I kind of taught myself how to edit. We bought some very basic edit. So I'm a self-taught editor back then. Today, I wouldn't even be able to turn on an editing system.
That's why I give it to him.
But that was the beginning of my career at Realtree. And Bill, I remember Bill telling me, he says, "I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if we're going to get on TV. I don't know. This may not even fly. So coming to work for Realtree may be a short-term gig."
Sure.
And I said, "That's fine, Bill. I'd never even thought of the alternative. Never even entered my mind that I could be out looking for another job." And of course, that was 33 years ago, and it's been an amazing, blessed privilege that God has given me to work for a man like Bill Jordan in a company like Realtree.
I love that. It's funny. We have you, we've had Waddell, we had T-Bone, 3 separate individuals with different backgrounds, all kind of telling the same story a little bit.
Yep.
Obviously, T-Bone had his small shop and doing his own thing. you guys came in and kind of took him under your wing there, and he helped in terms of producing better content for the show. Obviously, Waddell grew up as just a Southern boy. Mm-hmm. Went through the whole process there, and we have some funny stories about him going to film school and all that stuff up north in Massachusetts, and filming and learning how to film, and it's just these collective group of guys all started with very humble beginnings. I was born in '87, so I don't remember too much of the earlier days, but I know when I was younger, maybe in late elementary school, middle school. Again, I was a sports kid, so ESPN Sports Center was on probably its prime in the late '90s. Stuart Scott and all these guys, and excuse me. And Saturday morning, I remember, you put on the TV on Saturday morning, and ESPN would have a hunting show or would have a fishing show, if not on the main channel on ESPN2 when that became a thing. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I got my first introduction. Of course, internet and things like that weren't available, and you'd see Bill Dance on there fishing, or you'd see these guys on there hunting monster whitetails. Talking to you guys just brings back so many cool memories for me of just like little memory flashbacks of watching that stuff in my living room.
Sure. Yeah. Now we're talking about the filming stuff. It's getting into my bread and butter. That's what I love. I love to film and edit videos, and that's what I do here for the company. But as you were talking about that, it had me kind of thinking about what logistics look like when you guys go out and film a hunt. I don't know if you're super involved. I know you are involved with it, but I guess
it's probably changed a lot.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. And Jordan and I, we tried to film a hunt. It was like 2 years ago. And I just took camera gear. I didn't bring a bow. I didn't bring anything else with me because it was an extra load, and it was different.
Nice heavy load for sure.
Yeah, it was a lot different than what we do here in the studio. And maybe just talk about what logistics look like when you guys have a camera up in the tree or wherever you guys are hunting.
Yeah.
Well, things certainly changed a lot. I know when we had our little local show here before I went to work for Bill, nobody filmed hunts back then. So we had a little VHS camcorder just sit in the stand and film. And that was it. But when I went to work for Bill, I started the TV video production department, and up until about 3 or 4 years ago, I was in charge of the TV and video production efforts at Realtree. Since then, and even before then, we had hired great people who were very knowledgeable, phenomenal people that run it now that should have been put in place way before, because I was never trained for that. But I just had an eye for video. Taking pictures and video, and I had found is kind of an art form.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You got to know how to frame it up. You can't fight the zoom too much. You want to be smooth with your movements. But I remember even the first year we set out the video, there was a tree stand out of Arkansas called Tracks America. The fellow's name was Bear Dunn. Big, heavy-set fella, smoked about 3 packs of cigarettes a day. That was his company. Well, he would send us ladder stands.
Okay.
And we would use those ladder stands. And I went to Bear one day, and I realized we needed a way to make the camera steadier in the tree, but had no idea how to do it. I knew that a tripod up there on a lock-on stand wasn't going to work.
No.
We tried it, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Had no idea, how do you make a camera steady in a tree? And we literally sat down one day and drew out on a piece of paper the first ever tree arm that anybody had ever seen or heard of. Nobody filmed deer hunts back then. So you got to understand, it's not the world we live in today.
No, yeah.
And it went around the tree. It was very rough, and it went around the tree with a chain with a turnbuckle. And that was how it tightened to the tree. Now, you couldn't get very tight, but it was tight enough to hold one of those small.
Oh, we just lost him.
Oh, no.
There he is. We lost you there for.
Well, every once in a while, I'll just drop a call, so I have no idea why. But
that's all right.
That's that South for you, man. I'm telling you, everything's better in Central Ohio.
You pick it up where I was.
Yeah. So you had the turnbuckle, and you were the tree.
That was the beginning of the tree arm industry, and you can imagine how rough it was. But looking back, I didn't even realize that we were really, setting the tone for outdoor way back then. It was pretty cool.
I mean, now look at it. Cool. Now look at it. We can take I can take this thing and magnetize it to my bow, or put a GoPro on. I mean, put a GoPro on an extended arm, and obviously the tree systems that we have. We used what was the one that was
Fourth Arrow?
Fourth Arrow. Yeah, Fourth Arrow is the one that we used when we were filming, and you pull a full camera on there.
Well, when we got the green light to finally put Realtree Outdoors on TNN, they informed us that the quality of our cameras was going to have to be broadcast quality.
Sure.
Which meant Beta SP format back then. It was before 4K or HD. It was Beta SP. The problem was Beta SP cameras were about 40, 50,000 a piece.
Yeah.
And we had to buy 2 of them. And that's really when Bill was, Realtree's still trying to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bill jumped in and borrowed the money and bought 2 Beta SP cameras.
Wow.
I couldn't believe how much they cost. And they were big and heavy and cumbersome, but that's what you had to film with to get the quality of footage that was required to air on national television.
Yeah.
So it was amazing how much money we spent, because now you can buy a camera for $25 that the quality is good enough to air on ESPN.
Sure. Yep. Sure.
TV show.
I'll bet that was fun with a big old camera up in a tree stand, trying not to move it while the deer's coming in.
There's nothing to that, because we had gotten a little better on our camera arms, and we made a sturdy one, started using a ratchet strap around the tree, so it was better. The tough part was filming an elk hunt or a turkey hunt. With the Beta camera. Now you're talking about a 25 pound Sackler tripod, because it had to be big to handle the big camera. A 30-pound camera. The batteries were Anton Bauer 5 pounds a piece.
Yeah.
Carrying that, but here's the thing, we knew no different. If you showed a camera guy nowadays that outfit, said that's just what you're going to take to hunt turkeys out west with, or hunt an elk with out west, that's your package. It's 60 pounds. We knew no different. Like we knew no different. Nowadays, people would go, "There's no way. I'll go find another job."
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, it's we take those lithium batteries for granted now, don't we?
So we've really seen a lot of improvements, obviously, in the editing. My first edit system was called an AB roll system, and it was not linear. It was it was linear editing, not non-linear, which is done on computers.
Yep.
Back then, if you edited on a tape system and you had gotten, let's say, 12 or 13 minutes into the show, and you realized back at minute number 3 you left a shot out, you would have to go back to minute number 3 and start all over. You couldn't just drop it in. You couldn't just splice it in. That was the old AB roll edit systems. That's what we learned on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's
crazy to think about. You know, like I take all the stuff we have for granted. When you hear something like that, that's another level.
Oh, I mean, heck, even the podcast now, where half of it's almost automated for us. With all this AI and computer generation stuff, a lot of the work has already been taken out of, and all we got to do is just put our personal touch to it.
Yep.
Or make sure that it's smooth.
Yeah. But what made Realtree Outdoors the #1 rated hunting show way back in the day is, I'll never forget this. When we got the green light air on TNN, now you got to remember, National Network was bull riding, country music, NASCAR, hunting and fishing, and that was it. it was an amazing network, very popular. But Bill comes to me and he says, hey, what are we going to do to make our show stand out from the others? There weren't very many shows on. There were probably 4 other hunting shows on all of national television, period, across the country. And I said, Bill, what we've got to do is we need to show impact like we're showing on our videos on Monster Buckets. Then Will Primos had started the Truth series by then. I said, Bill, we've got to show impact on the show. Nobody was showing impact, the arrow hitting the deer or the bullet hitting it on TV. Nobody was showing that. That was taboo.
Yeah.
And Bill said, do you think we can do that? And I said, Bill, I think we need to do that because hunters, the real hunters, the people who are buying Realtree camouflage, that's what they want to see. That's why they love the video so much, and nobody is showing it on television.
Yeah.
And so we were given permission to show impact. Now, it had to be tastefully edited.
Sure.
You know, you didn't show a lot of, you know, gore and stuff like that. And we did that. We tastefully edited it. People went nuts on national television, good and bad. The hunters could not believe how good it was. No more of these hokey, fake hunts on TV where you don't even know if they're recovering the same deer that they supposedly shot.
Sure, yeah.
So that stories back then where it was 2 separate deer. It wasn't even the same deer.
Yeah.
But this legitimized everything. It gave everybody credibility if you could show everything in a hunt. Well, after about 6 or 7 weeks of just our ratings going through the roof, and just like we had the highest ratings ever on TV for a hunting show.
I love it.
I got a call one day from the program director at TNN, and he said, David, I hate to tell you this, but when you send next week's show up here, it can't have any impact in it.
No.
And I said, what are you talking about? Well, sure enough, some anti-hunters had gotten through to the network and had expressed their displeasure of how in the world can you show somebody shooting a poor innocent animal on television, da-da-da-da-da. And that's just back in the day before emails, before text, before internet. It was none of that. So the next week we sent our show up there with no impact in it, and it hurt so bad to send that show. And our phone lines light up from the viewers saying, why did y'all cave into the anti-hunters? Why did you take impact out? And I gave everybody the phone number at TNN.
There you go.
Called the fellow, the program. And the hunters overwhelmingly went to work and bombarded TNN. And about 3 weeks later, he called me back and he says, you know what? Y'all can put impact back in. So we won that war. And that's why there's impact now on television.
I love it, man. I mean,
that's great.
These guys are true. I mean, we take for granted in the world of YouTube and TikToks and Instagrams and all that stuff, we take for granted just being able to see people hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I can film it on my phone, you know, in 4K, and you know, in super 10 times better than anything he's ever had when he started. And you know, and it's just to hear him talk about the start of it is just awesome.
I'll tell you this, back with those bad SP cameras, you literally lost 20 to 30 minutes of light. Because the cameras did not have that capability to gather light.
Yep.
So early morning, you could not shoot a bow, look through your peep and see your pin. I mean, you had to wait by the time you could see your pin, you had to wait another 20, 30 minutes before the cameraman had enough light to film a hunt. And the same thing in the evening. You had to cut off the hunt about 20 or 30 minutes during prime time because the camera was not physically capable of gathering enough light. Now, the camera guys, they can see
better,
past when I can see through my peep.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, 100%.
So it's a different world, but I have to give credit to other people in the industry like Will Primos and the guys over at the Truth series, which was Cuz Strickland at the time when he worked for Will.
Yep.
Those guys were pioneers as well. Mark and Terry Drury, who were dear friends, they were pioneers as well. So really between that small group of people that I just named, those were the pioneers of making outdoor television what it is today.
I love it. I love it. You know, getting into this too, and just hearing some of the stories from Waddell and his time being a guide there for the show, for a lot of the shows. You know, you're looking at the early '90s, mid '90s. You know, he's got a really funny story about Earnhardt always coming up and filming and hunting for turkeys. You know, as you go through, and you've been with Realtree for so long, have you ever gotten? And I think another benefit too is Realtree showcasing celebrities. You know, I'm gonna use that as an air quote. You know, to them they're just hunters, but to other people, you know, have you ever gotten starstruck in terms of all the guests that you guys have come on? I mean, I'm just thinking you have, you know, Earnhardt's. You know, there's no bigger name than him. You know, and you know the NASCAR guys. You know, you've had a lot of relationships with Realtree as a company with those. I mean, have you ever look back and say, wow?
Well, for me personally, you nailed it. There was no bigger star that hunted with us bigger than Dale Sr.
Yeah.
He was the biggest. And he was such a good guy, too. And he and I became very, very dear friends. And then we hunted with, you know, some country music singers and NASCAR drivers and some athletes. And it was all cool. But I have to say that early on, TNN, this is back in 93, 94, 95.
Okay.
Before outdoor television became a thing, right? Before Outdoor Channel or Sportsman Channel or any of those platforms, they did a national survey, and I'll never forget this. They did a national survey of viewers of their hunting shows. And overwhelmingly, the results came back that they would rather watch someone who is just a hunter, who is good at hunting, as opposed to a celebrity hunting.
Okay.
Overwhelmingly, they wanted to see a guy who could teach them something, who had credibility as a hunter, as opposed to watching somebody who was famous. And I personally think that it tends to be more like that nowadays.
Yeah.
Even though there are some very cool celebrities that love to hunt and are good at hunting. I'm not taking anything away from them. But if you had to choose between, do you want to watch a guy who's good at what he does or watch somebody who's famous? Your true hunters would rather watch somebody who's good at what they do. Like you take like a Bill Winke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Midwest Whitetails.
Oh, sure.
Started that.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's just my personal opinion. Now, we've had great relationships with NASCAR drivers, ball players, country music guys, and they've been great for the brand.
Yep.
And they've supported Realtree.
Dang it.
Lost them again. No, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. We're rolling. We're still rolling. So, you know, like you mentioned before you lost you there, you'd rather you had the poll, and you'd rather see hunters like Bill Winke and those guys that are giving the viewer something instead of just watching a celebrity.
Well, but we had a great relationship with celebrities too, and they were great for the brand, and they still are.
Yes.
They certainly are, and we still hunt with, a lot of baseball players, Austin Riley and Chipper Jones. Tyler's really good friends with those guys, and NASCAR drivers and country music guys, and so they're good for hunting. They're great for promoting the sport of hunting.
Yes. Oh, for sure,
Which we need a lot of now, but yeah, it was awesome. But I'd say Dale Sr. was the biggest name we hunted with, and believe it or not, in my opinion, he was probably the most down to earth, blue collar celebrity we've ever hunted with.
I mean, you've seen the clips of him too. You know, he said, I think Junior may have posted or something. I can't remember where I saw it, but it's, I may go win a race on Sunday, but come Monday morning, I'm Dale Earnhardt, and I still got to take the chickens out. or I still got to feed my cows, or I still got to do, I know he had a chicken farm. So he's like, I still got to go in here and collect the eggs.
Well, there's people listening to this podcast that don't even know who Dale Earnhardt Sr. is.
I'm telling
which
you.
is me, but he's an icon. I remember during turkey season one year, they raced at a little track called Rockingham, which is no longer a track they race anymore in North Carolina, I think.
Yeah.
And real small oval track. Well, after the race, Dale flew down here to turkey hunt with us that night after the race. Well, I picked him up the next morning, Monday morning at 5 a.m. to take him turkey hunting. It's just me and him, and he gets in the truck and he looks at me. He says, Blanton, he always called me Blanton. He said, Blanton, he said, I am so sore from the race yesterday. He said, I can't hardly move. I need some Advil and a Coca-Cola. And so there was this little bitty mom and pop convenience store near where we were going to turkey hunt that morning. So we whip in there at 5:30, and they hadn't been open long, and we got our camo on, and we walk in, and Dale gets some Tylenol and a Coca-Cola, and we pays for it, and we're walking out, and this guy's walking in, and he goes, hey man, listen, have you ever had anybody tell you that you look just like Dale Earnhardt, the race car driver? And he said, you know what? I get that all the time. We just that was Dale Earnhardt.
I love it.
That morning.
We had Waddell tell us a story too. He was walking in someplace with him, and he was the king of the South. I mean, there was no bigger figure in sports in the 90s. And he said, those people would have thought that they just saw, Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could have been.
Yep.
Yeah, there was nobody bigger for sure. That's his trump card when he always talks to Blake. I think him and Blake, anytime that they're messing around, he goes, well, I got this guy's phone number. I had this guy's phone number, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But along those lines, too, you guys have been able to hunt some incredible animals, everything from, elk and mule deer and antelope, obviously down to whitetails and et cetera, turkey all over the country. Are whitetails still on top for you? Are they always going to hold a special place?
No.
No?
I'll be honest with you. They were at one time. They were for a while.
Oh. Dang it, man. The third spot. It is what it is. It's no big.
Here in our town, when it gets this hot this early, it affects our phone service.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it does. It really does.
But no, you were
anyway.
Whitetails, and your favorite now. Your favorite.
Whitetails were on the top of the list for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But my passion has always been video and turkeys and turkey hunts, videoing them. That was my passion. Then I got in front of the camera more, and so, but now I'm going all the way back around to my passion now is video and turkeys again. But now the last couple of years I've been videoing myself hunting turkeys, which has been quite the challenge.
Yeah.
To get really good footage, off a tripod and everything. I would say turkey hunting now is probably turkey hunting would be my most enjoyable hunt that I do every year, followed by bow hunting elk.
Yeah.
I've always loved the thrill of bow hunting bugling elk out west.
Yeah, I don't blame it. I haven't had the opportunity yet. Obviously, turkey hunting is I like it because you're an active pursuit. You're not just kind of sit and wait. It's more of an active, more of an elk approach, if you will. And so I could definitely see the challenge for that too, because you might have to drop shop and set up right now. If a bird's coming in, and so.
Yep.
That's the challenge for sure, and you get to experience different breeds all across the country and down into South America and Central America. But I know you had posted you were excited. I think it was a picture of a bull elk or something like that. You're getting ready to talk about your excitement. You're headed to Wyoming this weekend or next week. What's this plan looking like moving forward for your hunting this season?
So we go to Wyoming, as we mentioned, the first week of September to bow hunt the whitetails out there. I'll come home for several days. I have a grandson that'll be turning 1, so he'll have his birthday party. And then on September the 12th, I'll drive out to New Mexico, pick up the camera guy in Albuquerque. He'll fly in. I'll pick him up. We'll hunt elk for 8 or 9 days if we need it. And then when we leave there, which I'm super stoked about the elk hunt. I love elk hunting with a bow. It's just beautiful. It's such a challenge too. I would say getting a high quality video hunt with a big elk with a bow and arrow, because you're on their turf, you're eye leveled. Your big herd bulls usually have a harem of cows with them. You got a lot of eyeballs. It's a 800-pound turkey, but they can smell. Yep. You got the winds that swirl at the least opportune times. I mean, you can put a stalk on an elk for 2 or 3 hours and have the wind perfect, and then there at the last minute it'll swirl and just the whole deal's blown up. So it's really but it's very challenging, but it's very rewarding.
Oh,
and
sure.
And then when we leave New Mexico, we'll drive up into Nebraska and bow hunt whitetails for 4 or 5 days, and then we want to be in Iowa. I'm gonna hunt western Iowa, hopefully weather permitting. If it's cooler, the October 1st, and we'll bow hunt the whitetails there for a week or so. And then I'll come home for a break, and then I head up to y'all's country and hunting with Ryan Springer with Bow Hunting Ohio Whitetails. I'm really, really excited about y'all because you gave me the lead, Jordan, on that deal.
Yeah, so Andrew, who's on our pro staff team, he was really excited when I told him that we were going to have you on. He was, I think I may have gave him your connection, or he sent me Ryan's connection. But he recently just got hooked up with those guys, and they're excited to have you on. It seems like, from what I know about their outfit down there in Southern Ohio, they kind of let you do your own thing. Here's kind of the inventory that we have, and you can make it as DIY as you want. And so I think that'd be perfect for y'all for sure.
What's funny though, being a college football fan, I looked at our schedule. That is the weekend that I'll be up there hunting. Is also the Georgia-Florida football game. So we may be sitting out. If I don't have service to watch it in the tree stand, we may be sitting out to watch the game. Isn't that terrible?
That's terrible. That's terrible. I'll tell you right now, if you're hunting Southeast Ohio, you're not going to have the service. So you might as well just go ahead and find yourself a local sports bar and watch it there.
Oh, my gosh. But anyway, I'm super excited about hunting there with Ryan and his outfit, and really love the do-it-yourself deal, too, because I just love hanging stands, and I'm really excited about that. Then after that hunt's over, I'm going to drive to Illinois to bow hunt whitetails, and it would be kind of southeast Illinois. Around the second week of November, and then I hope to be in Kentucky for the rifle season the middle of November during the rut. That's going to be fun. I've never done that before either.
No, you're going to have your hands full for sure. You got a busy schedule.
Yep.
For sure. Now, looking at how you have these stacked up, and don't worry, when you come to Ohio, I'll be down there. We'll be down there. I'll crack a cold one open with you, or whatever you like, tea, whatever you want. But, having these so back-to-back and lined up, do you have kind of a tailored approach, and how do you approach these different states? Like Ryan's, for instance, you kind of, I'm sure you're doing some e-scouting and using Onyx and other sources of e-scouting, if you will. How do you tailor your approach to kind of know what you're going to do as soon as you get there, or do you kind of like wait and see once boots are on the ground, or how does that work for you?
Well, I can always categorize hunting strategies by what time of the year it is.
Sure.
Early season, like Wyoming, Nebraska, Iowa, you've got to do a fair amount of long-range scouting because you're just hunting deer on feeding patterns.
Yeah.
And so that takes a fair amount of scouting to see where they're coming out in the evenings. And a lot of times, those times of year, we won't even hunt mornings because when you're hunting a food source, deer coming to a hayfield or whatever, it's hard to get in there in the mornings without bumping a bunch of deer.
Yeah, sure.
So it's a lot of afternoon sits. Now, when I get to Ohio, you're starting to get, that end of October where if you get a cool front that comes through, those bucks they're ready, man. They're on their feet. They're starting to cruise, running some scrape lines and laying down some rubs and basically looking for that first doe that may come into heat early.
Exactly.
And so the bucks are like super ready. Don Kiske from Iowa has always said if he had to pick his number one favorite day to hunt a big mature whitetail, he always said October 28th. If the weather is decent. Mm-hmm. He said those bucks are on the move. He said that's the time of year that you can rattle in bucks, you can grunt in bucks. So one of my strategies up there in Ohio, being that time of year, would be to possibly set out a small buck decoy and do a little light rattling.
Okay.
Because those bucks are very can be, not always obviously, but they can be very receptive to coming to a call. That's when food is kind of not their thing starting about then, You're just trying to get in some pinch points or some funnel areas, travel corridors, and that's really how we're going to hunt them in Ohio and Illinois.
Now, when you're coming, obviously you're hanging stands, right? On a 10-day hunt. It depends on the terrain, but how many stands or how many sets would you be bringing with you on something like that?
Oh, just 2 or 3.
2 or 3, just to
and
kind
of. Because what I have learned over the years is you can literally scout yourself right out of the game.
Yeah.
And you can go hang so many sets that you really don't know which one to go hunt. Mm-hmm. And you end up jumping around. And for me, I have learned firsthand, the hard way on a lot of occasions, my success rate is higher if I go into an area and I have a lot of confidence in that area, and it's really a gut feeling.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of experience. And if I have a lot of confidence in an area, a location, I'm going to stick with that as long as I've got the wind in my favor and I don't feel like I'm, alerting deer of my presence. I'm going to stick with that area and be patient. But I'm not going to hunt it with a marginal wind, and I'm not going to hunt it if I don't have a way to get in and get out without being detected.
See, that was my next question, the access. Because when you're coming to Ohio and you're on this property, it'll probably be the first time that you've really had your boots on the ground there. I was gonna see about your access. Do you being a 10-day hunt? Do you kind of stay conservative at first, or do you?
Well, it's not a 10-day hunt. I'm up there for a week. I think 5 or 6 days of hunting.
Okay, so even less. Yeah. So
yeah.
Do you stay conservative in terms of how deep you push in based on access and?
I'm pretty conservative.
Are you?
I'm just a conservative hunter, and have not always been conservative hunter, and I've actually shot my fair amount of whitetails being fairly aggressive and pushing the envelope with stand locations, what have you.
Sure.
It's just now I tend to be a little more conservative than I used to be.
Perfect. Yeah.
So it's hard to find the right setup where a tree or trees offer you and a cameraman the cover you need to not be silhouetted and picked off. You got a good wind direction, a very strategic tree, but the tree also allows you to get the kind of video that people want to see on DVDs or TV.
Exactly.
You know, there are such things as killing trees, which are awesome, but you wouldn't get hardly a lick of video out of that tree.
Yeah, especially.
And when we go into a hunt, we're trying to go, okay, well, where am I going to be able to get the kind of video I want to get? And that, for me, that really plays into it a lot.
Oh, I believe it. I would believe it for sure. Yeah, because like I said, if you're going to get into thick bedding or something like that, where it's real nasty and kind of thick and just thicker, you know, your video, you may have a handful of shooting lanes. Well, that might not be the best for the video perspective. You can probably see the buck a little bit through brush cover or something, but not to the idea that what they're trying to produce.
If I were just hunting and without a cameraman, that's where I'd be.
Yeah, exactly. That nasty stuff.
But those are great spots to hunt. So it's very interesting to get up there and kind of see, and you know, and kind of you go into an area that you've never hunted before, like up there in Ohio where I'll be, and there'll be some intel that Ryan will be able to give me when I get there from the landowner and a little bit, and it'll help. But you're kind of going into it, kind of your odds aren't as great because you don't have a lot of experience on that piece of property.
Sure.
So it's going to kind of be a trial, by fire deal.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm assuming for a video perspective, you're not going to be kind of the one that wants to hunt over bait or anything like that either, too, right?
No, there's not going to be any bait on that property, which I'm good with, as long as there's not bait on all the neighboring pieces of property and all the deer are pulled off the property.
Yeah, that's a challenge for sure.
That would be the one thing that would concern me, is if everybody around there, and I don't know the whole layout, I don't know how much ground is around there that nobody hunts or is hunted heavily, but Ryan will know, and he's been great so far, and he feels really confident that we're going to be in the game on this piece of property we're going to hunt. So I'm really excited too.
I'm excited to have you up for sure. I'd be interested to see just how it all shakes out. I know there's potential of even next year too, if I'm not mistaken. That's when we originally were talking about it. So hopefully it works out and you can make it kind of a routine thing up there for sure. Southeast Ohio is definitely the ticket. You know, southern and Southeast Ohio. Obviously up here by us too, and central and eastern Ohio, there's some big deer up here for sure. So I'm excited to get you up here 100%.
Well, thank you for the lead.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, we're not too far. You can just swing on up, get all you need, get all your
Maybe do a little shopping.
Get all your shopping. We'll take care of you. We'll give you a secret shop. We'll push the shopping cart around for you and get you everything you need. Grab you some Realtree. Grab you some extra Realtree.
That's right.
But yeah, and you kind of made a joke about. I mean, it's a joke, but not really, because I know you're going to do it. The Florida Georgia game. It kind of led me to my point. Let's say you do get a week, and this could be Ohio. This could be any state really, for that matter, or any hunt for that matter. Are you willing to kind of just burn a day if the weather is not exactly right, or would you just try to pursue another option?
Listen, no. I am notorious for not hunting if the wind's not right, if the weather's not right, if the conditions are so poor and I feel like I'm going to hurt my odds by going out there and trying to hunt, I will not hunt. I like to a fault almost. But it has paid off for me in ways. Here's an interesting story. We were in Montana hunting a river bottom, not the Milk River. We were on the Marias River, and had never been there before, and we scouted from a great big bluff over by a railroad track, looking through spotting scopes. As these deer were leaving this giant alfalfa field, they were going 2 miles back to bed from the field, and they were leaving the field right at daylight. And we got up on this bluff, we'd walked down this railroad track about a mile, got up on a bluff, and we were looking a half mile in there watching these bucks go by. So we determined, okay, that's where the bucks are going. We went in there. They went to bed. The wind was good. We go in. We hang our set. We're all set. I mean, like, we are set. Next morning, we get up. The wind's good. We get out of the truck. We're going to walk a mile down the railroad track, and we're going to cut into our tree stand. We walked a mile down the railroad track. We walked in, got almost to where the stand was in the dark before daylight, because these deer were not getting to the field till after dark. So we were hunting them in the morning, leaving the alfalfa field. But we're almost a mile from the field, between the field and the bedding area. We get almost to the stand, and I noticed the wind had switched, and it was blowing back up towards the field. I didn't even hesitate. I looked at the cameraman. I said, I just started walking back to the railroad track. And he said, what are we doing? I said, we're not hunting. And when I hurriedly walked out of there before our scent could go all the way up to the field, I said, we're not hunting. That wind switched. He said, no, really? And I said, yeah, it just did. And it switched. Barely switched. We go back to the railroad track, got up on the bluff, and sure enough, 30 minutes after daylight, here comes that bachelor groups of bucks, and they go right under our tree stand, but they're walking into the wind. It's because the wind had switched, barely.
Yeah.
The next morning we get up, we're so fired up, same thing. We go down the railroad track a mile, we cut in, the wind switches again. I turn right back around, walk back to the railroad track, got back up on the bluff. Same deal, the bucks come right under the stand. I wouldn't even consider going in there hunting. The third morning we get up, walk in, the wind didn't switch, it was in our favor. We killed 162-inch whitetail.
I love it.
But my point is, I will not go in there and hunt if conditions are not good.
You get one chance with a buck like that.
Yeah,
he gets your scent. He's not coming back. And
look, there was a year, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. I shot either 6 or 7 whitetails with my bow on camera, and every single one of those deer was killed the first time I sat on that particular stand.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah,
you can't argue.
First time.
Yeah,
first time in. Yep.
Yeah, you can't. And I feel like that's one of those things where a lot of people, just like their average Joe hunter, some people are very serious about it, and some people are like, like sometimes that's the only day I got. I got to go try to make something worth of it.
To their defense, they're like, well, I don't have time off from work.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to hunt.
Yep.
Well, I salute them because they're out there to hunt. Whether it means blowing deer up or not, they're going to sit in a tree and they're going to enjoy it.
Yep, exactly. And I'm interested to see how your approach is. Let's say have you ever hunted like the deep woods? Like, we see people like in Pennsylvania and others hunting these like big mountain woods or these big stretches of wood property where you're not having a lot of ag fringe.
Well, at home, that's what we hunt.
Yeah. And so I think like sometimes I'll kind of take a risk because I can think that it could probably come from anywhere. Typically I'm going to hunt more of a strong directional wind, so I know that it's going this way, but it kind of gives me, I don't know, action can happen from any direction, I guess, sometimes, especially if you don't know the property.
It's completely different. A completely different mindset when you're hunting woods like that, because it can happen from anywhere.
Yes.
100% agree. But a lot of our hunting is done in Kansas or Wyoming or Nebraska or Iowa or Illinois, and those are distinct travel corridors, or they're running funnels or pinch points or field edges, and you kind of know what the deer are doing, as far as going to and from bedding, or if they're just cruising, kind of how they're cruising. So you kind of know. But yes, to your point, you start getting in the big woods,
it's different.
Yes, it can happen from anywhere.
Well, I guess that's a good point too, because like Kansas and those places, like you said, you're going to have those pinch points or those field edges. You're going to have your massive spread of field that's just barren field, crop field. They're not going to be there. They're going to be in the woods for cover. So you're going to have to kind of hunt that particular, and that might only be a certain, let's just say 10-acre parcel of woods and field edge. So you got to kind of definitely play the game right there for sure.
That's right. And to that point, there is not, in my opinion, there is not a product on the market that eliminates human odor.
There you go. I can't argue with it.
I can't either.
I mean,
there are products on the market that help minimize human odor,
but not
and it's good to use those, but not to the point where, there was a company years ago in our industry. Y'all may or may not remember this. Their tagline was, "Forget the wind, just hunt." Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you right now, that's one of the most absurd taglines I've ever heard in my life. Now, you can use products that will help you minimize your scent.
Yes.
But as far as forgetting the wind,
no, you always got to play that.
Going in there thinking that you're going to be 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and no, that's not going.
Put it this way, milkweed is always in my bag. So I'm never not playing that thing. No, there's no way. I agree with you 100%. There's definitely a thing for stacking the cards in your favor, like we've mentioned, and like you've mentioned. And as a hunter, we want every possible advantage that we can, whether that's activated carbon or sprays or cover scents or anything like that. The calming scents, anything like that. Anything and I use that stuff, to help. But at the end of the day, you can't fool that nose.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, and I'm so well known with camera guys. If I'm sitting in a stand and that wind's good for an hour or two or three, and all of a sudden if that wind shifts, I'm down.
Yeah.
Like if I feel like it's shifted and it's fixing to hurt me and educate some deer, I'm out of there.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a good point to take away from, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I didn't have, we were kind of cutting in and out of, and I'll let you go after we get this. And just on the technical side, what all are you using? I mean, I know you're a Matthews guy. I had my hat on. What's your setup looking like that you're taking to all these different hunts? I know you got some rifle hunts and stuff in there, and obviously archery hunts.
Well, my archery is I'm shooting the Matthews, and I'm actually going between the Phase 4 and the V3X.
Okay. Yep.
I really, to be honest with you, this summer, I have shot my V3X more than my Phase 4.
That's what we both have. Yep.
Yep.
I personally like the draw cycle better on the V3X than the Phase 4. Now, some people will tell you, well, they're the same. Well, for my shoulder, they're not.
Sure.
I can feel the difference in the draw cycle. And at my age, honestly, I need the smoothest, less pressure on my shoulder and elbow that I can get. I just love the V3X. I just love that bow. I love the Phase 4 too, but I'm shooting the V3X. I'm shooting the HHA 4-pin slider, fixed 20, 30, 40, 50, and then it slides.
Yep.
Obviously shooting the Ultra Rest that comes with the Matthews bow.
Yep.
I'm shooting the Axis Arrow, the
Easton Access.
The Easton Axis
5
Arrow.
Yeah, the 5mm.
Yep, that's right.
That's what I got.
No, I'm not shooting the small diameter.
Yep.
And I'm shooting the G5 dead meat. The Mega Meat's a great broadhead too, but I'm shooting the dead meat. I just like the dead meat. I think it's plenty enough cutting.
That's a great
power.
That's a great head for sure. That's what.
So that's, and I'm shooting about 64 pounds, I think, is my peak weight on my bow.
Okay.
But what I am toying with this year is, under some, most of my shooting in the summer I do with the hinge release, the V3 archery.
Okay.
BG Pro hinge release. I shoot a lot with that during the summer for technique and execution, better form.
Mm-hmm.
There are some guys I know that are so good with a hinge release, they actually hunt with them.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those archers, but this year, under the right circumstances, I am toying with the idea of hunting with it. Now, that would be like hunting deer that are coming out on the alfalfa field or a food plot or something that's not fast-paced. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, there he is, and you got to move. Then I'll shoot my thumb-driven release. But I shoot that hinge release so good, I would love to hunt with that. I'm on the fence about that.
Yeah, I tried the UltraView hinge release, and I unfortunately missed a deer or missed a buck because of that quick action. Like, I could shoot it great all day at a target or a bag target or spots, indoor 3D. But it came to that fast pace. You got your adrenaline pumping. The manipulation of it, I blew a shot. I mean, quite candidly, it was under 20 yards, and I know for a fact that,
which is exactly my fear.
Yeah, that's and switched to a thumb button. This year, I used the knock-on thumb button from Dudley, and
the thumb button I've used for 30 years, 35 years. Thumb-driven releases, and I love them. I love them. But I probably will just hunt with, honestly, I probably will just hunt with the thumb release, the thumb button. But gosh, it's, especially here in your experience with the hinge release and the hunting scenario.
Yeah.
That's what concerns me.
Yeah, and to each their own, for sure on that. I mean, I think my jitters were pretty high at that moment because it was kind of unexpected how quick it showed up. It was like mid-November. Things were moving pretty fast, and I just ended up missing. Yeah,
100%.
But
the movement in forcing a hinge over the movement in forcing a thumb is way different. Like, you're moving your whole hand to force that hinge to go off. It could throw your whole shot.
And it certainly did.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no excuse for me not to hit that deer. I mean, it happens. It's part of
archery. Y'all may have just taught me into just shooting my hands when I practice during the season, even. But then hunting with the thumb button, y'all may have just answered.
Yeah, I mean, the pull through is still a thing. Like, you're still in practice good form. But I feel like if you were to trigger punch it in a moment where your adrenaline's high,
just moving your thumb over your whole hand,
yours less moving for sure.
That's right.
Well, David, man, we had our ups and downs, but we'll let you get going on that. I can't tell you. I look forward to having you up here so much. I'm excited to get down there and see you.
I look forward to it. I think I'll be there on October the 20th, either the 26th or 27th. I don't remember.
Okay.
It's one of those days I arrive.
Yeah, I'll stay in touch for sure. If there's a Buckeye game going on, I gotta leave you hanging. I'm sorry. I can't miss that.
I have no interest in watching the Buckeyes until the playoffs.
Hey, if the weather is bad and you got bad wind, what we'll do is we'll just go to a local bar down there and a sports bar, and we'll just watch Ohio State, and we'll just really show you good football.
I'm going to have a TV, and no offense, but I would much rather watch a football game sitting in a quiet place with a TV as opposed to a sports bar.
I don't blame you. My anxiety level when it comes to the football games is too high for me to watch it with anybody. My poor wife, right. She understands. She just goes to another room.
I get it. I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
Well, David, safe travels, man. I can't say anything else. It's been a blessing to have you on. Like I said, we're super fortunate.
A blessing, guys. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'll see you here before you know it.
Sounds good. Take care of yourself, sir.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. That is all we have for you today. We really hope you enjoyed our conversation with David. We appreciate the connections that we've made with the folks at Realtree, and we're really looking forward to meeting him in the deer woods this fall. As always, we appreciate all of you listening. Good luck this hunting season, and until next time, enjoy the pursuit.